I had a dream about Muhammad. I was sleeping. I'm in front of someone. There was so much light coming off of his face, I couldn't see his face. And I was like, I became Muslim. My name is Sanford Pass. My Muslim brothers call me Abu Mujahid. I was born and raised into a Jewish family, conservative American Jewish family. My parents were good and decent people, and they taught me monotheism at a very early age. Singing and saying, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one."
Yeah.
These are my earliest remembrances of any spiritual training, and our parents did it. They taught us early on about that there's only one God, and that religion is about character. I first heard about Islam a long time ago. When my children were small, someone gave me a Quran, and I never really looked at it. I put it on my shelf, and I don't even know what happened to it. And then after 9/11, I looked into that as well, and I was talking to my friends, and I said, Muslims couldn't have done this. And my friend said, "What, are you defending Muslims?" I said, "No, I'm just defending the truth here. It doesn't make any sense." And 2009, I was living what I thought was the dream. I was retired. This was like my sundown years. This was my dream. My son called me and said, "Dad, I just want to," he became Muslim before I did. He called me and he said, "I advise you to take that big searchlight in your brain that you've been looking for all the things wrong and the things behind the headlines, and take a look at some of these passages in the Bible with the same scrutiny. Deuteronomy 18:18, John 16, and so on. They're more and more and more. Isaiah 32:2. If you look objectively at these things, it's like, there they are, if you don't have any filters on when you're looking at it." After my son told me over the phone to look here and there in the Bible, I had a dream about Muhammad. I was sleeping, and there was a noise that I would have to say was the loudest noise I ever heard in my life. I thought an airplane had crashed right outside my house. And I opened my eyes, and it was crickets. It was crickets. It was in my dream. It was in a consciousness. It was like something woke me up, like got my attention, like, pay attention. Okay? Then I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden, I'm in front of someone, and he's a little bit higher than I am, and he's sitting like, cross-legged, and he's got a white turban on, but he's got a gold shawl over his shoulders. It's hanging down. He's in white, and I didn't see his face because there was so much light coming off of his face, I couldn't see his face. And I just felt, I couldn't see it, but I felt a big smile. I just felt a really big smile, but I couldn't see the smile. But again, words are only 10%. Remember, the frequency was, he was happy to see me. And I was like, there were no words. That was it. And then I told my first imam about this, and he said, that was Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And it was like a welcome, like, hell, welcome, It was like, we've been watching you all these years, and come on in now, you're ready, you're ripe. Chest opened up like a French doors, and tears were flying out of my face like birds. It wasn't like they were rolling down my cheeks. They were flying out. I watched them. The tears were actually, and I was going, what's going on here? It was like, welcome. This is the truth. And I felt intuitively the thread of the straight path going back to Abraham because I'd studied Hebrew school, and I'd been in a monastery on part of my journey. I was looking everywhere. I had 3 years in a monastery. So I studied the Bible, the New Testament. I knew the Old Testament somewhat from being Jewish. And my son had called me and told me to look. I'm sitting there looking at the Bible, and I'm looking at the words. I was sober in all ways, and I was looking at this book, and it was as if someone had highlighted with a yellow highlighter. A three-dimensional yellow highlighter had been drawn across the words that my son told me to look at. And they like came up off the page at me. In 18:18 of Deuteronomy, where God says, I'm going to send a prophet like you, I'm going to put words in his mouth. And then in John 16, it says, someone's coming who's not going to say anything of himself. He's going to say what's given to him to say. And I saw the mirror image. I saw the parallel of, I saw Isaiah 32:2. I'm getting goose flesh just talking about it. Isaiah 32:2, where he says, Allah, the sun started up in Seir. No, it started up at Sinai, and then it came up higher in Seir, and then it crested at Paran. And I did some research into that, and what that's referring to is that Allah gave Musa, peace be upon him, the tablets, the law at Sinai. Yeah. Jesus, peace be upon him, overcame Shaitan at Mount Seir, and Paran is the ancient name for Mecca, where Muhammad was born, peace be upon them all. And when this hit me, it was like, I don't care what anybody else says about it. Allah showed me this is true. I struck gold, and I'm saying it's that invisible gold. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And it all made perfectly, it all just clicked. And at that moment, it felt like my rib cage opened up like French doors, and my heart just was on a continual explosion. That was not a bad explosion, but an incredible explosion that was just energy and love and being accepted. Allah accepted me. It's like you can't just walk in the door and say, hi, I'm a Muslim now. It's not just saying the Shahada. There are conditions involved. You got to be sincere. You got to want this. It's not religious. You're not shopping in the religion grocery store. This is home. Allah created everything and everyone, everywhere and every when. That's who we worship. We worship the God of Abraham. And so how I felt was, it's ineffable. I felt like I was exploding without dying. I felt like parts of me that were dead were blowing away, and I felt like I was regenerating into a whole different person. I took my Shahada shortly after that experience on the phone with my son and some witnesses on the phone. I became Muslim. The most natural and spiritual thing that ever happened to me. Islam was the continuation of what they had all, it was like the continuation of the straight path, the continuation of monotheism to humanity. And Islam, what attracted me is like, it's a way of life. It's not just a ritual system. It's everything from going to the bathroom to getting married to civil law to criminal law to economics to family life to child rearing. It's a whole way of life. It's not just a religious system to speak of, and it was designed and perfected by Allah for all humanity. And in the last 15 years, what I'm finding is that it works. Whoever's listening to this, only 10% of what you're getting from me is my words. Feel me, feel my heart, open your heart, open your mind. Don't worry, your opinions will be there when you come back. Drop them for now and just listen objectively and let yourself feel me in my heart, from me to you through the waves. And because the words are just part of it. See, we all come into this world, we all leave this world alone, and we all come to God alone. This is a personal journey. There's so many words in this world, so much mis and disinformation, so many books, so many interpretations. You've got to be like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, where Obi-Wan says, trust the Force. But I don't mean that. I mean, trust Allah. And then you have to go. Allah gave us intuition, which is a big part of what's missing right now in our world, is trusting our intuition.